I've come to the conclusion that nostalgia is so powerful, it actually overrides laughability. What do I mean by that? Well, growing up in the 70s and 80s and now being alive in the 2000s, where I got to see the evolution from comic books to television series and then CGI MCU related Avengers stuff. Originally, this TV series from the 1970s, the first Incredible Hulk we ever saw on screen, was amazing, especially growing up. But now that we've seen what CGI and the MCU does with the Hulk, it's almost laughable, but not quite, thanks to nostalgia.
Then an accidental overdose of gamma radiation alters his body chemistry.
Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Find a way to control the raging spirit that dwells within him.
Hey, my name is Mr. X. Welcome to the Extreme Channel. We are giving away $1,000 statues to you guys. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Today we're looking at a very special piece. So this is a custom, means it's a private unlicensed commission, quarter scale statues, multiple statues. So obviously we have two statues here, and again this is from the TV series that started in the 1970s that starred Bill Bixby as Bruce Banner and Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk. That's right. Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and hang on, he really wasn't Bruce Banner, we'll come back to that, were actually different characters because they couldn't do true transformations. And when I go back now, and I just watched some of the episodes recently, it's almost laughable. Not only the transformations, but some of the funny things about the Hulk. Like, he really won't throw somebody, he'll take them and kind of scoot them along the floor. Because while Lou Ferrigno is, and always will be, a badass, he can't take another 300-pound person and throw him miles away like the true Hulk can that we saw in the comics, or even what we've seen done in the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. However, that doesn't take away my love for this series, these characters, and these statues. So I decided to pull the trigger on this guy for a lot of reasons. One, it's very, very rare. Two, I thought it would be cool to have probably the only television series I loved regarding comic characters actually in statue form. I actually plan to display them with all my other Hulk statues, and I plan to display it with XM Studios' comic-based Transformation Hulk that also has a Bruce Banner. So really quick, back to this. As you see, in the version of the show, he was actually David Bruce Banner. So David, he went by the name David, Bruce was his middle name, and there's two alleged reasons why this was. Number one is that the show's producer, or whoever wrote it, David was a tribute to his son. That's what some people said. Then some people said something else very controversial. Now again, I'm just repeating it, don't kill the messenger, but they said that the name Bruce was too gay. That's why they didn't want to go with it as the front name. So not exactly PC or appropriate. Who knows what the truth was, but it's Bill Bixby, who is the actor, he played David Banner. And then when he transformed into the Hulk, that was played by Lou Ferrigno. Now, they had a few transformation processes or scenes. Number one is they put contacts into Bill Bixby. They were actually these really cool contacts, and they had this music with it, knowing he's about to transform. So as a viewer, you got really excited. And then sometimes they would actually do some prosthetics on Bill Bixby's face and do kind of this green flash over his face. And then they show close-ups of actual Lou Ferrigno and rip the clothes off of his skin, and his skin was painted green. So a lot of times during the scenes, especially if it was one where he was in water or something of that nature, some of the green would come off. Like I said, almost laughable. And then Lou Ferrigno also had some prosthetics on his face to overemphasize some features, and you'll see that displayed in the statue here. This is really exciting, and one of the reasons it's so exciting for me is the concept of these statues. Not only is it both characters, but the particular scenes they took them from. So we're going to do this twice. We're going to do the concept category of this twice because I think both are equally important. So starting with David Banner, what's really cool about both of these is this is a tribute. So they've done a museum-style base, which I'm not a huge fan of, at least the outer part here. But really the tribute, he is standing in front of the grave of himself. he was actually accused, or the creature, aka the Hulk, was accused of killing David Banner because there was this explosion. But what's great about this, as you see on the screen, is it's actually from the opening scene, the very end of the opening scene, or the opening credits of each show, because David Banner is a very mild guy, and I think this shows it really well. He's very nostalgic. So the entire series, he goes out and he helps people with problems, and of course, he always gets angry, and then the Hulk comes in, and he hates the Hulk like any David Banner does. But this is an exact duplicate from the opening scene, which is so incredibly cool. I think it really shows who the character is, and you can see that he's looking down, he's sad, he has the same clothes on. And one of the things you're going to notice during paint and sculpt regarding clothes, yes, he has bell bottoms. That's what they wore back in the 70s for you young people. But fantastic job on that. But not only did they take the opening scene for David Banner or Bill Bixby, but they also did it for Lou Ferrigno and the Hulk. So again, we're going to start at the bottom here. So at the beginning of the movie, they show the first time, I believe this was the first time he transformed. I don't remember the exact first episode. He's changing his tire on his car. So you see some tributes to that. You see that the car went off the road. You see some gravel, some mud. You see the hubcap. You see a tire iron. You see a jack. And then Lou Ferrigno is there as the Hulk, and he transformed. And not only did he transform, but he's also in that iconic pose. Again, this is from the opening credits, but there's so many times throughout the movie he's kind of in this iconic pose. And, you know, as I was watching some of the episodes, I really wondered how many shirts did they have to rip up to put on him? And did they use the shirt that Bill Bixby was wearing before, and they ripped that shirt up, or did they have multiple versions of the shirt? Just kind of my own weird mind where it goes. But he's standing there growling. He's a huge guy, especially considered next to Bill Bixby. Because remember, they didn't have CGI, so they had to get real actors who actually fit into the scale of what they wanted to do. Which everyone always questioned, how did his pants stay on him? And they still question that with the comic base and the MCU-based Hulk, but the truth is we just don't want to see Hulk's junk. That's why it works. So anyway, I absolutely love these. I think the concept is a 5 out of 5. I love that you get both characters. I love that it's from the opening scene. And that opening scene was some of the coolest. It has some of the coolest music. I actually posted some videos of it on the Extreme Channel social media, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure to check those out, especially with the music. It really adds to that nostalgia. Design. Let's talk about design. Design is fairly simple on these, but I think that's all it needs. One of the things that does concern me is the scale. So we're going to measure this. This is quarter scale, meaning 4 times smaller than a real-life version. So I'm going to have to do some math on the fly here. So Bill Bixby is about 17 inches tall. He's about 18 and a half with the base. The base isn't very tall either. So 17 times 4, that would be 68 inches, I believe. So if you do the math, that's 5 foot 8 inches. I haven't looked it up, but he does seem like a shorter guy. Where Lou Ferrigno is about, 21 inches. So they did Lou Ferrigno at 21 inches here, which equivocates to 84 inches, which is actually 7 feet tall. Now, I did just look it up. He's only 6'4". But I like the fact they scaled him bigger, otherwise he would be too small.
That's what she said.
Because when I look at him and my other quarter scale Hulks, he's still small. He's going to look kind of weird next to those. If you want to see what that looks like, again, check out the social media. The links are in the description below. So anyway, they made him too big, but in my opinion, he's still small. So I don't know the right answer to that, and I'm not actually going to dock points. I think the size difference between the two is actually good. So I kind of agree with what they did in the overscaled Hulk. If they made him shorter, it just wouldn't have looked as good. Anyway, let me show you how these guys went together in the unboxing and assembly. One box for 2 quarter scale statues. When's the last time that happened? And it was actually a box within a box to help protect it. Standard stuff on a custom statue, black foam and straps, and 2 different layers. Not a lot of pieces, as you can see, to this guy. All right, no switch out options. What you see is what you get, which is fine. You know, you don't want a different portrait on Lou because there would be a seam line. On David, I think the portrait is actually perfect for the scene. When I pulled the portrait out, I was like, this is weird looking. But when you actually put it on the body above the grave, it's perfect. I like the little Easter eggs of the car down here. I wish they were removable. Now, granted, you can remove them. They leave little keyholes. So I would have liked it if you could just place them wherever you want or not display them. I think there was opportunity there. All right, so let me just get some other measurements here. Deep is about 13 inches on David Banner. It's about 10 on Lou Ferrigno. The widest point is the base. It's a little over 13 and a half. And then David Banner is 9.5. Now, on top of having these movable, I also would have liked if the base is somehow interconnected, whether it was back to back, but because they're both different oval shapes, and this one is deeper, that one's wider, it's a little weird to display. I honestly think something kind of like this is the best, but then again, you're taking up a lot of room. Little nitpicks, but I think it's a 4 out of 5 on design. I love the fact that they sculpted the clothing, which is a great transition into the paint and sculpt because some of it is done really well. There's a few bleed over issues with the paint, so it's just the execution of it. But if the issues were the paint on actually Lou Ferrigno's skin, I wouldn't complain because during the show there were issues. But the paint on him is better than it is during the show. But like I said, you see some of that bleed over that you'll see during the close-up video. Check it out. All right, let's cover the paint and sculpt on these guys. So I think the Ferrigno Hulk base is much better than the David Banner base. So simply for the fact I think the concrete's done really well, and then you have that transition to mud with the tire tracks. And even the accessories down here, I think it's a solid paint job. Not really a lot to sculpt to those. And then I think Ferrigno himself, I think they nailed the anatomy, which is fantastic on the sculpt. I think everything about the sculpt with Ferrigno is spot on, with one exception that we're going to talk about. But really well done. It wasn't over, muscular guy, even though he was a bodybuilder. That's kind of what he was known for before he got into acting. But really great job. And then I love how the clothing is actually sculpted. So originally I thought that this was fabric clothing, mixed media, but it's really impressive how it's sculpted. And even where the tears are happening from the seams busting, that's where we have some paint issues though. So some of the tears over here actually have green paint on them from his skin. So a little bit of bleed over, that's a miss in my opinion. Interesting fact down here, his feet, the bottom of his feet actually are more pale, which is how it was in the series because obviously they couldn't paint the bottom of Ferrigno's feet. And then the rest of the green around him, during the series, during a lot of scenes, the green would start to rub off. And that's one of those laughable things as you watch back, but that's all they could do back then. I mean, I can't imagine the makeup he'd have to go through because he'd also have to have prosthetics done on his face, his nose and his overemphasized eyebrows to really make him look like a creature. So this looks really goofy, but that's how it was done in the show. I think the one disadvantage, I think his gums are too big in my opinion. I don't remember his gums being that big. I don't know if he had prosthetic teeth or fake teeth or not, but I never really saw that. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think that's probably the one miss with the sculpt, in my opinion, on this particular piece. I love how they added the green to the hair, not only in the eyebrows, but the hair itself. Very accurate to the screen as well. You could still see Lou's black hair. I believe it was his hair. But they added like these green streaks to try and make it completely green. But really good job on the anatomy. You can see the veins here. This guy was in fantastic shape. And again, the clothing, look at the zipper on there. It's even hard to focus on. So I think really good job on that statue. On the Bruce Banner, so first of all, the museum style base on both, it's fine. Just has a black line running through it. The flowers are kind of bunched together, almost reminds me like some of my Super Mario statues. I think that maybe there's too much yellow that they put in there, and it's bunched a little too much. And same with the grass, looks fake, almost like sod. However, the gravestone is done fantastic. I think they did a real nice job. There's a more bleed over on the paint right there. A little bit of a miss. Or maybe it's just the gravestone isn't sitting flush, but I like that a lot. And he has done fantastic. They did a really nice job on him. Everything from a little bit of dirt on his shoes. Again, this is fully sculpted, but the way the pants fall, even with the creases and the seams, make it look real. There's a little bit of movement to it with him putting his hand in his pocket. A lot of that same detail in the clothing or his bag, whether it's the zippers or the seams. Really impressive. I like the way they did his hair as well. It's hard to do sculpted hair well on people from the 70s. Skin tone looks fantastic, and I love the look he has. It's almost this somber look that really portrays his personality well. And now if he was just a standalone, not looking down at the grave of himself, and that's the hilarious thing. He's running for his life because he's going to be convicted of killing himself. That's his life is just completely out of whack. He was a doctor, or still is a doctor, I guess, but really good job on this particular statue. So some pros and cons, but overall I think they did a fantastic job on the paint and sculpt. Sculpt, I love. Like I said, I think that the gums were too big on Lou. That's a minor criticism. But other than that, I think the sculpt's a 5 out of 5. Doesn't mean it's perfect. It means it's really good. Paint, I'm going to go ahead, and some of it is so good, though. That's what bothers me. That bleed over really bothers me. So I'm going to give the paint a 3 out of 5. I would have liked to give it a little bit higher, but I just can't justify it. And again, remember on this channel, 3 out of 5 is not a bad score. So is this worth it? Well, there's a few things going on. Number one is they actually made 2 versions of this. Like this, quarter scale, and then also third scale, which as you can imagine would be huge. I elected to go quarter scale because the rest of my collection is. Now they only made 30 of these. I'm not sure of how many of the third scale, but I know they had a hard time getting people to commit. So because of that, it was a little bit more. It was $1,300 plus shipping. Now that's really not bad considering it's 2 statues. However, they're not incredibly elaborate, not a ton of stuff going on. And with all the great MCU replacements of the Hulk, I think you're going to have a hard time finding people that absolutely love this. But for people that bought it, they're actually getting another Easter egg, which I'm not allowed to say because, this is a custom piece. So I'm not allowed to say, but it's very possible that we might be getting actual autographed plaques from somebody. I'm not going to say who. But so I think that's also a really cool value with this. So because of that, I think the value overall is a 4 out of 5 because it's so rare, although I don't think you have a big buying audience for this anymore. I absolutely love this, and I would love for my sons to own it one day after I'm gone from this planet. The sweet release of death. When will it come? So with that being said, let's talk about it. Does it have the X factor? I ordered this instantly because this was such a big part of me growing up. I really trust the commissioner who did this. He always puts out fantastic pieces. I think this is no exception. If I try and look at this objectively, is this a 5 out of 5 statue? Does it have the X factor? The answer is no. But my nostalgia is so powerful, it is. It's a 5 out of 5. This is fantastic. I was a little worried when I saw some photos of it, but in person, it is awesome. I really like this piece. I'm glad the project was actually done and we found enough people. Like I said, they raised the price a little bit because we couldn't find as many people as we wanted to. But here it is in all its glory. Let's see what he looks like next to XM Studios. And again, make sure to check that out on my social media. But thank you guys so much for watching. Throw in the comments below. Have you ever actually do this? Have you ever seen the show? Let me know that. Have you ever seen the show? I want to know who my audience is. Because not only will that help me interact with you guys, but you could win a statue with that comment. As we try to grow this channel, we like to reward you guys for watching and subscribing. So because of that, every 5,000 milestone when it comes to subscribers, we give away a couple $1,000s worth of statues. We've actually given away over 20 statues. To win one was easy. First, you got to be subscribed to the channel. You'll get bell notifications when videos drop. Each video that drops, you want to make a comment on those videos. We pick a random video, we give away statues based on a comment. You can say whatever you want. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much to the producer of this. Thank you so much to Bill, and I'm pretty sure Bill has passed, but to Lou. I know Lou's still alive, and I doubt he's watching, but great part of my childhood. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate the producer, and I really appreciate you guys watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.